Art school never ends. My closest friends and I have a group chat, and we always share videos there just about anything, from anime stuff to documentaries, subjects we're interested in and are curious about. All of us in the chat are artists, with different mediums and specialties, and levels of practice. One day I spoke to them about something new I learned and talked about it with them for a bit, and some agreed that it was a great discovery, to which I answered, art school never ends. When you read this book, you might know that I studied fine arts painting in college at the University of Santo Tomas, and some might say that doesn't matter in being an artist. Well, I can say I really learned a lot back then in art school, and I also agree had I not studied fine art in college, I might have learned various techniques and skills elsewhere. However, I would also say that graduate or not, if you're an artist, you should keep learning. You should keep studying and knowing more and more about new art or how to refine your technique. I was a guest speaker once at Far Eastern University, where each course had invited an artist to represent multimedia arts, painting, architecture, and industrial art, advertising. I gave my talk and later the other courses had theirs too, and we were at the end of the whole talk. Mind you, this was all done via Zoom call, so there were a lot of students listening and watching, as we were all in the comfort of our own homes. It was the Q&A part, and a student asked me if going to college was worth it or just try and learn in the real world. I answered, yes and no. I said yes because I wouldn't be there if it weren't for my college training. I said I discovered a lot of things through my professors. They guided me to a lot of techniques, and made me do all kinds of plates that I didn't know I was interested in had they not tackled it. It also put pressure on me as they had set deadlines and one artwork a week, as well as taught us about well-known artists and their experience. Aside from that, my university has a huge library where I spend most of my time flipping through books about art, which really fed my curiosity. I had classmates who were artists too, and talking about art and learning from them and getting their opinion about my art was crucial as I was starting. There was also an art organization that focused on painting and exhibiting one's work inside and outside of the school, and this org, 𝐀𝐑𝐓 was a crucial part of my growth as an artist, as I and all the members were mentored by 𝐂𝐵, who knew a lot about art, and sharing his experience in exhibiting in galleries, even though he was still in college due to his father and grandfather being well-known artists. But I did not learn everything I know inside the school. In my free time, I joined chats and internet groups, like Artists Den, and met fellow art groups that published their own comics, like 𝐂𝐑𝐓 Comics and Jerry Langland and John Zamer, as I was also an aspiring comic book artist at the time self-publishing my comics. Heck, I was doing that when I was in high school. I was able to attend comic conventions, thanks to Culture Crash Comics, and even participated in some. I was able to sell my comics, and that was one of the best learning experiences. I would learn and understand what people were looking for in terms of genre, themes, and quality in a comic book to buy them. Again, I got this experience back when I was still in high school, and I sold a lot of comics, even if I was still a sophomore student. I also attended a lot of art talks about comics, and even though they cost a lot of money. I took these seminars way back when I was in elementary school, and was the youngest of the bunch. All of the attendees were more than 10 to 20 years older than me when I was just 12 years old. The seminar was held by David Kempede of Glasshouse Graphics, and people who were already working on Marvel and DC Comics and the like. It was with writers and artists of the industry, and it was no bullshit. It was the real deal of how to make it in comics, and I learned a lot there. I also joined a lot of contests. I never won any of them, but the lessons I learned were all with me to this day, like submitting on the set deadline and doing something simple, so that you can finish your submission on time, along with getting the size restrictions correct. Tip: get that size requirement right, because if you don't, it doesn't matter if you submitted a masterpiece, it's going to be disqualified. I also read a lot of comic books, and watched lots and lots of movies and TV shows that I get inspiration from for my work. And when I'm finished with all my plates in college, I painted artworks that weren't even part of the curriculum, and even submitted them as plates later on, and the teacher even liked them too. At times, I even wrote stuff on the side, some short stories just to put my ideas onto paper. I even released one of these as a short novel just recently entitled Town Grassa. So both worlds are great, going to college and learning art outside the college. It's when you stop learning is when you decline. Socrates said, I know that I know nothing, meaning that he only knew one thing for certain. He knew nothing, which means having this in mind, he still consumes knowledge every day, and so he keeps learning. It's a humble way of learning and even relearning, which I often do when I'm rusty on a subject in art, stuff that one must constantly fuel one's creative curiosity to truly be the best version of oneself. Art school never ends is more and more accessible too, as we now have the internet. If you have the means to pay for some masterclass courses, or if you're more of a Skillshare kind of guy, it's all available. You can even get both. If you want to go the free route, you can also just search YouTube and find an artist who is also able to do what you want to do and follow their advice. Disclaimer though, some of these art gurus may have bad art or ugly art, but hey, just don't follow the way they paint. Instead, if they have a lot of followers, listen to their social media advice on how to grow your following. Of course, some have YouTube channels that really draw and paint well. I just noticed not all of them have stellar work, so be cautious of idolizing them as art is subjective. See if their stuff is really good enough by your standards, and not just be swayed by their video presentation, pleasing personality, and nice studio setup. If however someone is a lot more skilled, then those are the ones you should be following how they create their art. These are the real masters, and you should at least consider their techniques in trade. There are also a lot of books, self-help books for one's growth or growth as an artist. There are PDFs, legal and illegal downloads. I'm not condoning nor condemning these practices. It's just all out there if you're willing to use them and pay what you can, if you have the means to pay these art masters back. There's also social media now where you can post art and even learn a ton from experience, and how your audience reacts to your art. And sometimes they are useful, and sometimes you should just publish your art, no matter if only a few people like them. What's important is you're putting your art out there and learning as you go along to improve our art strategy and releasing your work. You might be surprised if you keep putting your art out there. You might amass a following, slowly but surely, or you might not get a lot of likes. But if you consistently put your art out there, one of these days you'll get a private message or a DM from the right person who will put your art in their gallery or a much more prestigious place. With those things said, should you still go to college? If you can, you should. If you have the money and time, then go for it. You'll learn a lot of things there and try to squeeze every opportunity you have there. And at the same time, if you have some free time, do a lot more outside the school study and learn about other things you're interested in that spark your curiosity in class. Even if it was never discussed in class, you will find one thing that will lead to another thing, and you will find something that you like. However, if you don't have the means to go to college, well, it's not all that bad. You can get an apprentice job as you try to improve your skills. After graduating college, my first job was as a call center agent for 2 years. After that, I quit because I felt like I was killing my creative side there. Sure, I had the money, but it wasn't satisfying to kill my artistic side. So I worked as a gallery assistant, muralist, and even marketing assistant at a diner all at the same time. These skills I'm able to use now in marketing and making my art. I didn't have enough money to finish my master's in fine art, but I did get a lot of art jobs, which served as invaluable learning lessons on how to be a professional artist, how to deal with clients, and how to finish your job on time with masterful skill. All because you're there not making a plate, but as a hired artist to do an art job that your client might or might not like. So you have to do your best. This type of setup is like an art internship. I would even argue that this route is better, because you'll get real-time feedback if you did a great job, or not, with the client. And it's no bullshit either because the client won't baby you with words that don't offend, unlike your art teacher that will mince their words to that you'll do better next time. In this, there's no next time, this is it. Of course, you won't have a mentor, but in the field, your greatest mentor is experience. You can treat this type of learning in the field as your college for some to be put in the real world where grades don't matter. But think of it as being paid as your equivalent of a grade, and being paid well as getting a high grade. Going back to the student's question of whether they should pursue college, after my answer of yes and no and somewhat saying the things I have just said here, I told them you should keep learning regardless. I mean, I have a lot of classmates who graduated with me in fine arts painting. There were about 25 of us, and right now, there are less than 5 or 7 of us who are still making art and exhibiting at galleries. Most of us went to be on a desk job, starting a business that's not art related or are now art teachers, but not making their own art for art shows. There's nothing wrong with them having these jobs. It's just that it's sad to see my classmates don't use their gifts in real life the way they intended it to before. And I know a lot of great artists who are so talented and are still exhibiting regularly who have never gone, nor have not graduated from college. So it's up to you, as long as you're true to yourself. If you want to make art or do something else, a college degree or the lack of it should not define you as an artist. It's what you make of what talent or skill you have, and the art you share with the world, that should make you an artist, not the diploma. Art school never ends for me because, as a college graduate who accepted art jobs and is now a full-time artist man, I still study a lot every day. I pick new topics I'm interested in or even ones I'm slightly interested or some even I might be interested in and find videos of them on YouTube. Once I've downloaded these videos, I save them as my playlist for the day, and I let them play as I draw or paint. It's what they call multitasking. Most of these videos are just fun videos, but would you believe it helps me concentrate? Or at least prevents me from dozing off as I do some of the mundane tasks of the artwork I'm doing. If I really need to focus, I go for audiobooks, and it's the same thing, high, mid, or slightly interesting topics, ranging from books about business, poetry, psychology, getting things done, religion, fiction, making art philosophy, books about Zen, books about resilience, books about people with resilience, books about being a good person, and yes, books about being creative and about people who have done it. So no, I'm not done learning. If anything, I'm just getting started. And you should be too.